It was the night I said my last prayer. At least that's what I thought. The hospital room was silent except for the rhythm of machines counting down breaths that weren't really mine anymore. My body felt distant, just a shell holding on to a rhythm that had already faded. I remember whispering one last prayer, a prayer I'd said 1,000 times before. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And then everything stopped. No pain, no sound, just a stillness that seemed to stretch into eternity. I thought death would be dark, but instead it was light, a soft, living light that wrapped around me like a voice I couldn't hear, but somehow understood. At first, there was peace, deep, oceanic peace, but then I began to hear it, something faint, distant, beautiful. It was my prayer, still moving, still alive, still echoing. I could hear every word I had ever whispered to heaven, not as sound, but as music, woven into light. Each word shimmered through the air, like ripples across water. Some glowed bright, prayers spoken with faith and love. Others dimmed, the ones I'd said with doubt or distraction. Yet even those were not lost. They were transformed. They rose upward, carried by something I can only describe as grace itself. Then I became aware I was not alone. Around me were beings of light, tall, radiant, clothed in presence. Angels, though not as I imagined. They didn't have wings of feathers, but of energy, like living flame. They didn't speak with voices, but every movement sent a wave of love that filled me with understanding. One of them turned to me, and I knew instantly he was not there to frighten me, but to show me something. He raised his hand, and the light around us deepened until I could see beyond the veil of what we call reality. I saw a vast expanse, not of stars but of echoes, prayers, songs, cries, whispers, all suspended like glowing threads weaving through eternity. They intertwined, crossed, and formed patterns too, beautiful for words. And at the center of it all I sensed the heart of God, not distant but beating within every echo. Then I heard it, the sound that shook everything, a response, heaven answering back. It wasn't words, but it was love so absolute that I fell to my knees. Every prayer ever spoken, every tear ever shed in faith had reached him. None were forgotten, none lost. Each one still echoed in heaven, waiting for the moment of completion. The angel spoke without sound, even after. The final prayer, heaven still remembers. I felt unworthy, undone, but there was joy too, joy that nothing said in faith ever dies. Every cry, every whispered Jesus, every plea for mercy still vibrates in the halls of heaven. Then suddenly I began to drift backward. The light dimmed, the echoes faded. I felt the weight of the world pulling me again. And when my eyes opened, I was back, lying in the same bed, heart racing, nurses shouting. I had returned. For days, I couldn't speak of what I saw. Every sound felt dull compared to the symphony I'd heard beyond, but I knew I hadn't come back empty. I came back with a truth that burns inside me still. No prayer dies. Even the quietest ones, the ones you think God never heard, they still move, they still echo. And maybe that's what heaven really is, the place where faith's faintest sound never stops ringing. So tonight, when you pray, even if it feels like silence, remember this: heaven is still listening, and somewhere beyond the veil your prayer still echoes.